today we have a fantastic poet, Rishi. Come on up.
Hi everyone, thank you for being here at 8:50 something in the morning. I'm Rishi, I'm a junior, and the title of my piece is Mother, and it's meant to explore a lot of things. Firstly, it's my personal interpretation of a lot of relationships that women in my family have with one another, and it's supposed to explore themes like generational trauma, parental relationships, and the sacrifices women have to make for their family. So thank you, Mother. She is the reason why, when I look in the mirror, I see a dream in progress and her worst nightmare. The expression I love and the spunk I pride are anomalies in what could be the portrait of her perfect daughter. She is the reason I look at the future with hope, because I know that she'll follow me wherever I go, so I'll hold her hand and take her with me to see the dream she gave away so I could have mine. I am the monster she created, a reflection of who she was, once upon a time, and still haunts the halls of our house as we terrorize ourselves and each other, because like mother, like daughter. Because in daughter's fiery face, mother sees the ghost of herself, and looking at mother's erased fate, daughter fears for her own future. I am the reason why when we stand side by side and look in the mirror, I see her dream in progress and my worst nightmare. Because I look at my mother's tired face and her tired arms and aching knees and the ever-breathing, stretching love that comes only from a womb and wonder, where would she have been if not for me? I have her temper and her tongue, like flint and steel, and when we're in the same room, I either feel the warm glow only we could share, or I see the sparks fly as she sees herself in me and can't recognize either. Because I hate her, but I love her more than anything, and I want to be just like her while being anything but. Sometimes I make her tea, and we sit together at a table and talk and talk and talk, and I recognize myself somewhere in her. A daughter herself with a mother of her own that hides behind the label of wife and mother like all our foremothers did too. She tells me I would go on to do things she could never do because mothers pass the weight of 1,000 mothers' unfulfilled wishes and watch their daughters carry it just as gracefully as they did themselves because the umbilical cord is thicker than any other bond there is. I see the love and sacrifice and all the time she saves for her only daughter, saves only for her daughter, bonded by womanhood and the endless cycles of things learned in the womb. And my whispered midnight wishes that if my mother were to leave me alone in the world, that she would come back and stay with me as my daughter so I could give to her what she gave me and neither of us ever had. Because in some sad, strange way, when she falls asleep on the couch before I do, I look at her and I swear to myself I'll love her more than she loved me. Because we are the reason why our broken hearts are still strong after all the heavy words and tears and unsaid emotions. We are our worst nightmares, but nightmares are still dreams. Thank you.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well done, Rishi. Sorelle, are you here?
Yeah, I'm back here.
Yeah, come on up. We got another student writer for you. Let's give her a round of applause.
I wrote this poem called Your Eyes, and I wrote this about someone that I care deeply about, and they mean the world to me. You say you hate your eyes. How could someone hate your eyes? That hypnotizing blue brings me peace. Absolutely beautiful.
Rishi, Sorelle, thank you so much. Hopefully we're going to do this event again next year, and actually tomorrow even we still have some slots available for students to read their work. So, Sorelle, Rishi, was it worth it? Yeah. 2 nods, and a pretty emphatic yes from Rishi, so that's a good endorsement. All right, today is cool because we have something that I don't know we've done too many times over the course of Writers Expo history, and that is, one, have a screenwriter if you even know what that is. And then 2, have a student who really gets to be focused on for most of an entire period. Both of those things today. Give a round of applause for senior Cole Keriazakos. All right, so Cole and I have been talking for about a year about filmmaking and screenwriting and stuff like that. Is that mic on, Cole?
I think it is. Yeah.
Perfect. All right, great. Tell us first how you got into screenwriting.
I mean, I've been an actor for a long time, so I just ended up reading a lot of scripts, and I decided to, want to start writing. I think I've been writing for a long time, and it might have started actually as sketch writing, because I've done a lot through Second City, and they teach a lot of sketch writing. So it started as that, and a sketch is kind of like, one scene of a script. So I just ended up slowly, writing more and more, and then building on that and trying to write full screenplays.
Awesome. And then you've got something you're going to present today.
Yeah.
An adaptation that you've written. This is a story. Is it Mr. Peterson's AP Lit class?
It is Mr. Peterson here? No? Oh, dang.
Yeah, convenient. Okay. So Cole's going to share with you his adapted script, but first, why don't you kind of just give the audience an understanding of what this story is before we get into the material itself.
Yeah, so the story's called Chase by Amanda Davis. Amanda Davis is was a very great author who wrote a lot of short stories. She had a collection of short stories. And this one is basically, I don't know, there it is. The first sentence kind of sums up a lot of what the story's about. Lily was in love with a boy who chased freight trains. That's really what it's about. What I really loved about the story was that the writing style is so strong. It's kind of in this magical realism kind of world where, it's this blue horse and he chases trains on it and she is in love with him. And eventually, over the course of the story, she ends up killing his horse because she hates that he spends all of his time with this horse instead of with her. And it's this vindictive sort of way to get him to be with her instead of with the horse. And then she tries to reconcile that. So I think it's technically 4 scenes that we're going to be reading.
I'm curious first, how long have you been working on this project?
Well, I first read the story about a year ago when we talked. Mr. Peterson introduced it to me, which I immediately loved it. And then shortly after, I think I wrote this first scene, which I felt very strong about. But sometimes it's difficult to go into an entire script starting from the first scene. So it took me a while to figure out where I wanted to go with it. There were many ways that I decided to go with it that I scrapped or whatever. So eventually I settled on this, and it's been a few months.
Can you quantify how many hours roughly it's been? Just a guesstimate.
Gosh. I don't know. Probably like 30, 40 something.
Okay.
Yeah.
And had you done any adapted screenplay writing before?
I hadn't. No. This was my first one. Everything else I'd done had been original. So it's a different approach to writing than I've ever done before.
Was there any prep work involved, or was it just kind of using what you knew before and trying to fit it in with the
story?
story?
It was a lot of conceptually, how do I make this into a story? Because the actual story doesn't have clear scenes or anything. It's a lot of montage. And I could talk about that after we read it, how this beginning is different than the script. But yeah, it's a very different writing form than I've done before.
Cool. We probably have time that you guys can read the whole thing if you want. I don't know if you have the print. Yeah, you're good. Ready for that?
Yeah.
Okay. If we could switch over to Cole's actual screenplay. So we tried to get the PDF visual for you guys so that you can... Screenwriting is a very visual medium in many ways, even though it doesn't necessarily sound like it would be in the sense that poetry is. But we thought we would try and get you a visual here. If we can click on that link in the upper left, that'll open the PDF. And again, thank you to the people in the AV booth for our help today. If you can kind of scroll along with the readers, perhaps, while Cole and his crew are reading, that would be awesome. Hopefully it works. If not, we can go without. In the meantime, John, Jules, Savannah, you want to come on out? Yeah, give me a round of applause, folks. It looks like we're just going to go without the PDF. But yeah, go ahead and read the whole thing.
I didn't know. I can grab my Chromebook if I don't have it.
Did we put it behind maybe one of...
I can grab my
Okay. Yeah, I don't see it. Perfect.
All right, so while I'm getting this up, so there are 3 characters in the script, and Jules will be playing the role of Melody. In the script, it's shortened to what? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Lily. I don't know my own script. But Lily, Jules will be playing the role of Lily. John will be playing the role of Boy. And Savannah will be playing the role of Melody, who in the script is shortened to Mel. All right, let's start. Interior, Berry Patch Saloon, night. Lily, 16, sits at the bar, sipping on Shirley Temple. Her back is to the dilapidated saloon doors, through which we see a desertscape with no more than a few cacti and tumbleweeds scattered. The saloon is empty, and the doors gently squeak as the wind pushes them back and forth. Lily taps her glass with her blue ring, letting the sound vibrate through the glass before repeating. After a while, the saloon doors swing open violently, and Boy, 16, flies into the saloon, whooping victoriously. Lily turns around on her stool, lighting up as she sees him. The boy runs in and sits down in the seat next to her without even turning to acknowledge her, then catches his breath before reaching over the bar to pour himself a root beer. He takes a big gulp of the drink before finally slamming the mug down on the bar and leaning back with a smile from ear to ear.
You sure are happy?
A beat as the boy glances to his left where Lily sits, now taking in his surroundings. He sits up straight, trying to look more civilized.
Me and Wonder just had the ride of a lifetime. I've never seen him run so fast. We barely caught up to that last train, but you know Wonder, always the showman.
I wish I could ride with you. I've never been on a horse before.
He's outside if you want to say hi.
Boy's eyes wander back to the wall as he contemplates, not wanting to shut her down, but not excited by the idea.
Why don't you chase after some passenger trains every once in a while? If you did, I could be on it and cheer you on.
The boy looks back at Lily. He lets out a small sigh. He smiles.
No point.
Beat. Boy sips his drink.
Hey, I actually got you something. Well, I made it.
Oh, really? What is it?
Lily pulls out a present wrapped in blue wrapping paper with a big blue bow on top. She hands it to the boy. Boy takes the gift in his hands and shakes it.
Open it.
He begins unwrapping the present. From underneath the blue tissue paper, he pulls out a blue sweater with a lighter blue heart stitched on in the center. It is clearly homemade, but has had much work put into it.
That's awesome. You made this?
Yep.
Thanks.
The boy gives her a hug that nearly pushes her off the stool.
I gotta go show Wonder.
And just like that, he's back on his feet. The boy begins his rambunctious skip out, grabbing a handful of peanuts as he leaves, but runs back to take one last swig of his drink before returning to the world. At the door, the boy stops.
See you later, Lil.
We see Lily take in this nickname. From behind her, we stare out across the desert as a train whistle sounds in the distance. The sound of hooves comes closer and closer until they blast by, rattling the entire saloon and blowing the doors wide open with their power. We get a glimpse of the blue of the boy's sweater streaking by in the night. Awesome. Now we're going to skip down to the page 4 of this. Yeah. There's a lot of that. Yep. And now, there's a scene starter at the bottom of this page. So there's a header. Yeah, down further, yeah. There, yeah. Lily's dining room. Perfect. Interior, Lily's dining room, moments later. Boy sits at the small round table with his jacket draped over his seat. He takes in his surroundings as he waits for the food. Lily walks in, carrying the steaming pot of soup.
Mel, dinner.
She sets the pot down and sits next to Boy, sliding her chair to the left to be closer to the boy. As Lily turns to say something to the boy, he reaches over the table to grab the ladle from the pot and pours himself a bowl of soup, spilling some of the contents on the table. He pulls the bowl closer back towards himself and begins to scarf it down. Lily doesn't get any soup.
This is great. I bet Wonder would love it.
The soup?
Oh yeah, he'll eat anything.
B. Lily looks dismayed with the conversation.
So I was thinking about how you said I could ride your horse.
This stops Boy.
I never said you could ride Wonder.
I thought you did.
I mean, I said you could meet him, but I don't think he really likes other people being on him.
A beat as Boy goes back to eating.
Mel!
Coming.
Mel walks in, stopping at the threshold when she sees Boy. Boy looks up and smiles at her with soup dripping from his face. Mel finally walks in and sits across from Boy, next to her sister.
So, are you Lily's sister?
Mel, does Lily not talk about me?
Not really.
Beat as Mel stares at Lily and Boy finishes his soup.
Well, I should go. Wonder's probably hungry.
He begins to put his jacket on and leave, but Lily stands up.
I could give him some soup if you want.
Really? That would be great.
Let me just put some in a bowl for him.
She looks at Mel.
Mel, do you want to go meet Wonder?
Lily gives her an angry look.
Sure.
She gets up and walks outside with Boy. Lily watches them exit before going into the kitchen. Through the window, we see the boy introducing Mel to Wonder, and she begins to pat his neck. Over time, Mel's scowl turns to a smile. Lily does not see this. While this occurs outside, Lily reaches under the sink to grab a chemical bottle. With this, she walks back out to the dining room and pours the entire bottle into the soup pot. She stirs the soup and carries the entire pot outside. And then we're going to skip down to the top of page 11. Or, it says page 11, yeah, there. Exterior, campfire, middle of the night. Lily sits facing the campfire, a blanket unfurled on the ground. The light of the fire is the only light for miles. It crackles and illuminates her face while she stares deep into the flames. Behind Lily sits the boy, sitting crisscross, facing away from the fire. He looks completely still. Lily is distressed from the events of the day, but continues to sit in silence. The boy shifts. Lily looks back at him.
Cowboy?
Nothing. More silence. Lily takes a deep breath, preparing to speak.
Let me tell you a story.
Lily sits back and lies behind the boy. She gazes up at the stars, putting the coat she had taken off earlier behind her.
Before my dad died, he can make any dreams come true. My sister was too little, so she probably doesn't remember. But I do. I used to want to be the queen of my own kingdom, and he created that kingdom for me, where I could rule over a vast land, with my sister as heiress, of course. But now, it's me who has to grant those wishes.
Beat. Lily sits up, turning to face his back.
I'm sorry for what I did to you, cowboy. It was selfish, I know, and I didn't mean to hurt you. I just wanted to comfort you, to run my fingers through your hair and have you over every day, to be as close as we could ever be. I didn't mean to destroy you. How do I undo that?
No answer. Lily sighs. She lies back and turns away. She begins to drift off, letting the popping sparks lull her to sleep. But then, the formerly blue sleeve of the sweater wraps itself around her, its destroyed knitting barely being held together. Lily begins to cry and curls up into a ball as the boy hugs her tighter and tighter. They both weep. Lily holds her eyes shut, never wanting to leave his arms.
I'll fix this, I promise.
After a while, the crying stops, and they are left lying together on the ground. Lily takes a couple of deep breaths and collects herself. She holds onto the boy's arm, and the two slowly fall into dreams. We end on Lily's closed eye. Match cut 2. Exterior, campfire, dawn. Lily's closed eyes showered in morning light. The sky is filled with the full spectrum of colors. She shifts as she begins to wake up. We see that the campfire has blackened all of the wood and the fire is gone. Lily opens her eyes and has a small smile as she begins to stretch. She reaches over her shoulder to touch the sleeve of the sweater, and it is empty. Lily quickly sits up and looks back at where the boy had been the night before, and all that is left is his destroyed sweater. She sits with this information for a moment, when she sees a figure slowly walking towards her along the horizon. Lily stands up, grabbing the blanket off the ground. She begins to run towards this figure, but as she gets closer, she realizes who it is, her sister, Melody.
How did you even get any sleep out here? The ground could not have made a very good bed.
Lily stops. Melody continues to walk toward her sister. Lily looks as though she could cry. She runs toward her sister and hugs her. Melody is confused as to why she's receiving the hug, but gives in. After a few moments, Lily lets go and looks at Melody.
I had a good dream last night, Mel.
That's nice. I'm hungry.
Lily smiles. The two sisters walk back to where we can now see their house in the distance. As they walk away, Lily tussles her sister's hair.
Hey!
And that's fade to black.
Yeah, let's give another round of applause to our readers. Thanks so much, guys. We couldn't have done this without you. If you want to take the seats, you can. Feel free. If you want to take the seats up here, you can. Feel free. But yeah, whatever you guys want to do. Cole, tell us about the format we're looking at here with screenplays, because it's obviously different.
It is different. It's a lot different. So writing screenplays is, as you can tell, it's the actual action and everything is a lot different. Screenplays act more as kind of a blueprint for what the filmmakers are going to do, less of an expressive format. So whereas in writing for a novel, you would write a lot of what the character's internal thoughts, maybe what their emotions are. It's really written to tell the cinematographer, the audio, the mixing, everyone what they need to do to make it look and sound and feel how the director and the writer want it to. So a lot of the things that were in the original story that were very much talking about the character's emotions are not in here.
Because it's essentially two senses activated when you're watching a movie, right? It's what you see and what you hear. So the script tries to focus on that, right?
Right, and you can see even, there's some, even the end of the first scene, there's a part that says, from behind her we see the desert. That's telling you what the shot should be for the cinematographer. We want the camera to be behind Lily, looking out of the saloon, so we can see the desert. Yeah.
Now, we saw a photo earlier of you behind the camera. Are you planning on actually trying to turn this into an actual film?
I would love to in the future. This may be a difficult one because it does require me to find a big open desert. And I don't know if I can find one of those close to us. But I would love to at some point, yeah.
Now, what did you learn about screenwriting? Maybe did you have any moments where you're like, oh, wait, I can't do that because this is a script?
Actually, that's one of the things that I was writing, and I was writing this, and I was in my room, sitting in my bed writing, and just could not figure out how to solve the problem of killing the horse. It's not a good problem to have to solve, but I had to figure out a way to kill this horse, because in the original story, how it happens is they're just sitting in the bar one day, and she decides that she's going to kill the horse. So she makes this stew of all her bad emotions. It's very symbolic. This stew of all her bad emotions and this poison soup, and brings it out to the horse. And earlier in the story, there had been a scene where she eats potato soup with the boy. So I just kind of decided to combine those two things and add that together. And it was a really good way of solving that problem.
It's ambitious that the first time you try adapted screenwriting, you're taking a piece that could be considered magical realism.
Yeah,
I imagine
yeah.
that presented other problems as well.
Yeah, I mean, I really like something about this script is the general feel of it is a little surrealist in the fact that there's only these three characters, all of them are, kids, and that's, there's really no society around them. It's just kind of them living this world. So I kind of tried to preserve a little bit of that, but I changed some things. But it was very difficult to figure out how do I make these kind of fantastical things into grounded character moments.
Well, I will say it's been a while since I've read this story, but I have actually taught it before, and one of the things I've always loved about it is just the depth of emotion that's there.
Yeah.
And maybe this is a credit, Jules, to you too. Like when I was sitting down there listening, I found myself tearing up because these, the characters do feel very real to life, despite how minimalist a screenplay has to be.
Well, that was one of the things that I wanted to expand. The reason that the character Melody is here is originally in the story, it's just the boy and Lily. The boy's never named, but there is this mother character who is there a bit, but she kind of just sits and makes knits or something like that. So she's not really in the story that much, but as an actor, I think this is where I have a different perspective than most other screenwriters. As an actor, it's very helpful to have a more well-rounded character, and I also think it just ends up making a more interesting story for the movie, just to have a character that has a lot more depth. So by adding this Melody character, there's then this, there's more levels to Lily. And it ended up being the perfect way to end the script as well, by having that. In the original story, the boy just leaves and that's the end of the story.
Yeah, I mean, were there other things that off the top of your head you could think of that you had to change or that you decided to change? And how did you feel about changing another artist's work?
Yeah, it was, a lot of it was just figuring out how to structure it. That's another thing about screenwriting that's different than novel writing, is that it's all based on structure. How do we move from scene to scene? Because in novel, you can just say, they were here and then they were here, and you can find some sort of way to do it. But there's the visual aspect now that you have to figure out how to make the audience understand that we're now moving to a new place. So I did have to change certain things, like this original scene. I think they talk about the bar a little later, and it doesn't start with that. It starts just talking about their relationship and how he chases trains. And so I had to find a way to introduce both these characters. And I actually really like how the scenes ended up turning out, because it focuses more on the relationship.
Is the author still living? Do you know?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can't even reach out necessarily.
No. Yeah, I wish.
That's a bummer. So we would love for you guys to be able to ask any questions that you have for Cole, either about the medium or how he went about writing this. If there's anyone who has a question right now and wants to raise their hand high so I can see it, I can bring the mic to you, or you can just shout out.
Shout it out.
Red sweatshirt, go for it.
Why is the boy just called boy?
Oh yeah, that's great. So in the original story, he's not named because I think what Amanda Davis, was trying to do was trying to show that this is a story that's more universal than just this one specific story of someone who is obsessed with a person, or it could even be a thing, since the story could be, symbolic of something else. So it's not specific to just these two characters. The girl is named because she has a very, personal connection. She has a story of her own, but the boy can be anyone. There could be many boys. So yeah, I think that's generally why. And also, I don't know, I think that's one of the things that I did want to keep true to Amanda Davis's work, because I did create this character Melody. I'm like, I should probably stick with the boy. Yeah.
Just thought, like, a lot of writers talk about the importance of having other writers in a community that they can talk to. And I think if you're trying to write a novel, you can probably find another novelist. If you're writing short stories or poetry, you can probably find people doing the same thing. I imagine it's hard to find someone who's also doing screenwriting. Have you been able to find others to kind of bounce ideas off of it all, or?
Yeah. I have a lot of friends who have done some screenwriting. A lot of just actor friends who've done that. Like, a lot of them also started with sketch stuff. And they've done some stuff, but not really to this extent. But I do have some. And I mean, we have film club here. If you want to screenwrite, you should go to film club. I know Kate is in it. I don't know who else is here. But, you know, we're in film club. We're trying to write stuff. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one.
Go for it.
Cole, why do screenplays always look like they were written on a typewriter?
Oh, yeah. Well, they originally were, because it's a very old art form, you know. I mean, not that old compared to novel, but screenplays have kind of a strict formatting code. I don't know exactly why, honestly. Plays do not have as strict of a formatting, but this is just the general look of it, and it's much easier to read when you know exactly what you're looking at every time you look at a screenplay. So there's things that are specific to screenplays. You can see the action is these like longer, and then you have the characters in the middle, and then below some character names sometimes you'll see like a parenthetical that could be how the line is said or where the character is, different things like that, to inform, again, the filmmakers.
I remember there used to be software that was specifically made for screenwriters. Did you use one of those, or did you just use like
I
Google
did.
Docs?
If you want to get into screenwriting, there is a free software called Scenarist, and it is amazing, and it has everything you need, and you don't have to pay for something like Final Draft, which is, I think, like over $100. It's really expensive. So, yeah, if you want to start screenwriting, it's free. So, go try it out.
I think there was a hand on the far side. Yeah, go for it.
I saw the word break a lot. What does that mean?
Beat?
Break?
Break? Beat, yeah. So a beat, if you're an actor, you've probably heard it before. A beat is just kind of a breath or some way to break up different sections of either dialogue or action, something like that. And it's just a little breath. And it's used here because it's kind of a way to give actors, like, take it slow here. This is a moment where your character has some sort of emotion, but I'm not telling the actor what to do with that. They can make that decision for themselves.
For anyone who's maybe thinking about giving this medium a try, would you recommend starting with someone else's work that you're adapting, or just start with your own idea and learn the craft a little bit?
I think they both can have their own merits. It really depends what you end up wanting to do, because I feel like they're both art forms in themselves. Starting with an original story can be very helpful because it shows you exactly, you got to go through all the steps figuring out how to structure it. But maybe not as much for this one, but if you adapt like a novel into a screenplay, it can be very helpful because the structure's already there for you. It's just up to you to figure out how to, move through it, what to omit, what to add. You already know the story. It's just about actually putting in all of the infrastructure.
I think there's a hand right here.
Yeah. So if you were to turn this like into a movie, would you need the author's approval? Because it's
Yeah, I probably would, yeah. That is one of the problems of, not problems, but one of the things that you have to do when you're adapting someone else's work. But I would love to. I don't know how that would work, really, honestly.
I know a lot of times when you're trying to learn a craft, seeing models is helpful. Have you been able to find other screenplays to read and learn?
Yeah. So, like I said, I've been acting for a long time, doing TV and film stuff. So I've read a lot of scripts. Sometimes, it's very rare, but sometimes you will get a full script. Whenever I get those, I love to read those. I always read those. But I also, you can find screenplays at like the library. I have personally the Pulp Fiction screenplay at my house. Mr. Schmidt's here somewhere. I have the Pulp Fiction screenplay that I read, and that is a great example of not only does it do very well at writing specifically, the structure, the action, everything, but it also is just a great read. And I wanted to make this a good read as well, not just, good to watch. But
Are
yeah,
there
there's
like online databases or anything that have screenplays to pull up?
I honestly, I haven't really looked into that. I've just kind of found physical copies where I can. But I'm sure they're out there somewhere. But yeah, there is another screenplay that is very interesting to me that I have yet to read, but I've heard about it, is the Oppenheimer screenplay. For anyone who's read or watched Oppenheimer. Apparently, I think it's written in the first person, so a lot of the action is like italicized, and it's written in the first person, so we get Oppenheimer's emotions, which is not the standard for screenplays at all. I've never heard of a script being written like that, and I think that is a really cool way of changing the medium and also giving the actors something very interesting to play with.
That's awesome. Any other questions from the audience? Yeah, go for it, Alex.
What's the difference between screenwriting and directing?
Yeah. So sometimes in a lot of Hollywood movies, the director will be hired first, and then the writers will be hired. The director will hire a writer and work with the writer, and they both work together. The writer's just the one who's physically putting it down. The director is saying, this is what I kind of want from the movie, and the writer gets to make some creative decision throughout that. But if I were to try to get someone to direct this, as the writer, I've already written this, then I give it to a director and they can do what they want with this physical copy. They might end up changing it a little bit, and I might end up working with them, but the writer is the one who physically puts it down onto the page, and the director works with the cinematographer, the sound, the costuming. They work to cast the entire thing. So at the end of the day, it really is the director who's bringing all of those creatives together to create the final product.
And we do have a film and philosophy class in the English department, a senior elective, so if you're interested,
We do? Yeah,
talk to Mr.
Schmidt.
Schmidt, talk to Mr. Edley. Question in the back?
Did you, and if so, how much work with your actors, in terms of like how many read-throughs, to what degree did you guys plan to regarding your emotions and timing and such?
We didn't really read through it that long ago, actually. Our first read-through was last night. No, I think it is very important. In the future, I may continue to do read-throughs of this. That's something that it's more common for plays. Plays go through a lot of read-throughs, but also screenplays do it sometimes. Because actors are very important in getting a better, screenplay, because they're going to see things that I won't see because they're looking at it from the side of emotion and their character specifically, whereas I'm looking at just kind of the overall piece. But yeah, even just now while we were reading it, this is not to bash you, Jules, but some of what Jules said was like slightly reworded from what was on the page, and that's totally okay because that shows that that's what the impulse for the actor was compared to what I. So I might go look at that and change it to what Jules said
I
instead.
thought they did a great job, and
Yeah.
Jules in particular has such a long part. Here, answer this question. How many times have you read, I got the impression you have read it a lot.
I have, yeah, I've read this many, many times. Oh, Jules?
All right, thanks, folks.